Welcome to Love to See It, a podcast about a man who is definitely not on television to advance his music career.
Absolutely not even a little bit. If he showed up with a suitcase full of legal pads covered in song lyrics, that's just because he loves expressing his emotions.
Yes, very right reasons. It's episode 2 of Grant's season of The Bachelor, and it's in full swing, but the women are still riding Mrs. Ellis on their backs. I thought that was like a night one thing.
No, Claire. See, they will never, ever stop. No matter how many times we ding them for it, it's going to still continue.
I wake up every morning and I write Mrs. Fallon on my back just to show that no man owns me.
I own myself, motherfucker.
I own myself.
And my father. My father owns me too.
So before we get into this episode, a little reminder about what we have going on over on Rich Text. We put out a podcast last week about Rachel Kirkconnell's long interview on Call Her Daddy, and we are covering The Traitors. So that episode, if it's not out now, will be out very soon. Just catching up on everything that's been going on with Alan Cumming and his little outfits, and much more importantly, of course, Gabby and the whole gang in the mansion. So that's at claireandemma.substack.com.
Before we get into today's recap, just a small non-Bachelor request. We are in the midst of a pretty stressful and dark time, and we just want to encourage everyone who's listening, please take 5 minutes today to call your senators and your congresspeople. Let's do what we can to oppose this administration. Please encourage your reps to speak out against what is going on in the federal government right now with Elon Musk taking over when he has not been an elected official.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot to call your senators and representatives about. But if you're upset that we're getting political, I have to assume that you've just showed up here. We have been doing this for 10 years, and this is the moment of crisis.
This is not a moment to stay silent, so we won't be staying silent. And no, this podcast is not focused on politics, but this is our show. So we are, in fact, allowed to encourage you to get involved in whatever local, small, direct way that you can. And one of those ways is to call your reps. It is very easy, I swear.
Yeah. So we're obviously feeling really chill and good this week as we get into episode 2 of The Bachelor, season 29. So let's do it. First of all, first thing I noticed is that Grant dancing against the red brick wall seems to be staying as the title card. That's going to be like their visual signature.
I don't hate it.
It's kind of fun. So we're in the mansion. There are 18 women remaining after night 1, and Jesse shows up to let them know that the first group date starts right now.
Woo!
The date card says Beverly, Serafina, Allie Jo, Natalie, Parisa, Vicky, Chloe, Zoe, Juliana, and Alicia. It's time to shoot your shot.
I think we all know, and they all know what this means. It will be a basketball date. Usually they save these like intense sports dates for a little further into the season, like episode 3. They're jumping right in though.
Grant couldn't wait another moment to show these women his jump shot. And the women also all immediately start practicing their jump shot follow through.
They're like, I know what is required of me.
Limbering up this wrist right now. We learned that Zoe played basketball in middle school and she wrestles, so she's feeling very confident. And Allie Jo is prepared to shove the other women in lieu of playing basketball well.
Okay.
It's interesting given what she says later about how she wouldn't shove other women. Just to note that before the date, she seems prepared to shove women. Grant is alone playing 1-on-0 in a gym because basketball is such an integral part of who he is, and he wants to take his kid to play basketball like his dad used to. He airballs a half-court shot, and then in the moment, he's like, it's the most important game of my life, so hopefully I don't shoot so many air balls.
Oh, Grant.
Our relatable king. Absolutely whiffing.
Grant hugs all the women as they come in and apologizes for being sweaty. But Grant, we all know that there is nothing sexier than a hot man all hot and sweaty.
Yeah, the sweat that you work up from playing sports actually smells really good and it makes people want to have babies with you.
It's
I
called
don't know how to.
pheromones, people.
Yeah, it's just science. So the women are not put off, I would say. They're all like, rub some of that sweat into my mouth, please. And Grant introduces some big ballers, a bunch of adorable kids led by two ringleaders, Atticus and Journey,
They're coaches for the day, of course.
of course. And then he and the kids just set about coaching these athleisure set wearing women who don't seem to generally. It seems like middle school basketball is a lot more than most of them have in terms of basketball playing experience.
You know what? Relatable to me.
I played middle school basketball, but I literally begged not to be put into games because I was so afraid.
Wow, that is so relatable, Claire. That sounds like me when we had to do the flag football unit in middle school gym class. Very traumatizing stuff.
You were like, I will participate in gym class by sitting on the bench.
Yeah,
Thank
I was
you
like,
so
I
much.
love to support my fellow athletes from afar.
The women are busily like trying to impress Grant right away. They're like, he's so fun, he's so hot, he's so great with the kids. I want him to notice me. And we see Parisa very awkwardly trying to flirt with Grant by asking him to teach her defense while she's like shoving her body up against him.
I love Parisa. This is a Parisa Stan account, Stan podcast. Her awkwardness is so funny to me.
I love that she just goes for it. Like everything that she does, I'm like, this is the reason that the way this is coming off is the reason that I would be afraid to do this at all. But she's just doing it anyway.
I love the quiet confidence.
Natalie shows off her pediatric therapy skills by helping a girl who got winded, like sitting on a bench, helping her do some breathing exercises. And you can see her like peering over to the court to see if Grant is noticing her being so good with the kids.
She's like, this is my moment. Grant, have you seen this?
Have you seen me leading a breathing exercise with a winded child? Because I could do that for your child one day after basketball practice. And then during a slam dunk competition between the ladies, things take a sudden competitive turn because Zoe decides that she is going to do something a little bit different with her slam dunk. I think we have a clip.
Actually, I think I'm gonna forfeit my shot and steal Grant for a few minutes.
Okay.
To a secret spot.
Okay.
Oh, okay. They don't know about that. All right.
Guys, call a red flag. Foul. Throw a flag. You know where we're going?
I don't know where we're going.
Upstairs.
Okay.
The date card, it said to shoot your shot. Even though it is a group date, like you gotta make yourself known because you don't know how like long you have and how many opportunities you'll have to actually get time with him. I like to be competitive.
Okay.
And we like to win.
Okay. Okay.
Wow.
Bold move.
Like obviously this was producer sanctioned. It was probably producer suggested.
100%.
You're only going to make so many enemies in the house by doing this so prominently in the middle of a group activity that everyone else clearly thought was governed by certain rules, such as when it's your turn, you have to do a slam dunk and not steal Grant and go up to the roof.
Unfortunately, that's a common misconception on this show because Zoe is correct in that there are no rules other than the rules that the producers make for you personally.
Right. And the producers are obsessed with this because now everyone's going to hate Zoe.
Oh, yeah, it's perfect for them.
They need an early season villain. I mean, she's like, this is really going to make me stand out. But all she really seems prepared to say to Grant from what we see is that she hopes she's made her mark and the other women in the house are nice. And I'm like, they're not going to be nice to you anymore.
Yeah, here's the thing. If you're going to steal a moment, you have to use it well. I think she probably would have been better off saying, I'm going to forfeit my shot because I already feel like a winner and just going up and kissing Grant.
Honestly, that probably would have made him feel special and pissed off the women, but less.
Exactly. And also, like, it's just less disruptive to the whole production. And you can tell that Grant is very aware of the internal dynamics of the women, as we see later in the episode. And so I think he kind of clams up and gets uncomfortable when people do these moves on him.
But apparently they were gone for a while. So it's also possible that they just didn't show us what a great conversation they have. Like they come back
he does
smiling.
like Zoe, which is always very helpful when someone does something disruptive. If he already likes you, it's probably going to work out okay for you for now, at least.
I will say, especially in this current political moment, there was something about watching all of the adult women appealing to the children around them to please do something. Surely she can't do that. It's not allowed. Can't you call a foul or throw a flag? And these 10-year-olds are like, what do you want us to do? I'm like, gosh, why does this dynamic feel so familiar right now?
Huh. Yeah. And then no one does anything.
No one does anything. So another thing that feels familiar. So when she returns, Zoe sort of glibly apologizes. It's like, we lost track of time, and the women are shooting eye daggers at her. Hilariously later, she's like, oh, you guys were upset by that? No wonder you were acting weird. I'm like, you know why they were upset, Zoe. You know why they were acting weird.
Oh, Zoe came into this game ready to play. She does not give a fuck.
Yeah.
There might come a time where there is a line for her and she decides she no longer wants to play this game, but this episode, she's pretty committed. At this point, Jesse announces his presence with an air horn blast and tells the women that they'll be competing in a 5-on-5 game, and the MVP will get Grant's Letterman jacket. And as we know, there's no greater honor and no greater guarantee that you will be his wife.
I mean, you literally have a jacket with his name on the back. You're not allowed to have that unless you guys are exclusive.
It's just the rules.
You get that when you're really going steady. So they fill the stands with cheering fans and a full drum line. Some of the kids have made signs, mostly for Natalie. Apparently, kids really do prefer pediatric therapists. And Jesse and a sports anchor named Ashley Brewer and Grant are doing courtside commentary. I love that they did not have Grant put a shirt with sleeves on so that we can still enjoy his biceps. And Grant says he'd love his wife to be able to shoot a mean step back three so they can raise a good basketball player. And I'm like, so you sent Janae home on night one to show how passionately you care about having a partner who can shoot a mean step back three?
Well, he doesn't actually care. That just
he doesn't
sounds
actually
good.
care. But he could have just been like, I don't really care whether my future wife plays basketball. I'm more interested in whether she puts herself out there, plays hard, and has a good attitude. That's a winning response. Why is he pretending that he cares if she can play basketball? He literally sent home a professional basketball player. But he says he will accept effort and intention in his future wife's basketball playing, because intentionality in your basketball playing is really revealing of your quality.
I intend this basketball to go in the hoop. It didn't, but that was my intention.
Yeah.
That's me playing basketball.
My basketball playing showed very little intentionality.
I don't have skill or intention or effort.
Why do I have the ball? What am I supposed to do with it? Where does it go?
And then you just run away.
Yeah. Fall down, start crying. So the two teams are Grant's Pride, the tall girls, versus the Grant Slam, the shorties. I have to assume that production sorted them this way to create more of a disparity in the score and more acrimony between the groups of players.
I admit I felt bad for the shorties. They were at a real clear disadvantage.
Yeah. Listen, when you're playing with this little skill, especially, it helps to just be head and shoulders above the person trying to take the ball from you.
Or just closer to the basket.
Yeah.
Both of those things help, and it really shows in the score.
So Beverly scores in the first possession for the tall girls. We do see a fair amount of bricks, traveling that is not whistled. They just pick up the ball and run around with it. Desperate coaching from the kids on the sidelines. Fake nails are dropping like flies. They're harvesting handfuls of acrylics from the floor during timeouts.
Oh my God. This is, just proof of what we already knew, which is that everyone has switched over to press-ons.
Yeah.
Because they're filming for a long amount of time. So you can't just get that one hard gel manicure. or else it's going to start looking crazy after a couple weeks. So they're all wearing press-ons, and they all are just like popping off left and right. Juliana loses like every nail she has almost. Her hands start
Allie
looking
Jo
crazy.
is like, bitches be losing nails as she looks for her own nail. And she keeps being like, no, that's not my nail. That's not my
someone
nail.
else's.
Someone else's nail. But the height advantage does really come through. Team Purple goes up 10-0. That's the tall girls. And then things start to get dirty. And the footage on this is a little hard for me to read. Allie Jo claims that things got physical because of Zoe. She's like, if you're going to push me, I'm going to push right back. I didn't really see that in what they choose to show us. Zoe is definitely playing scrappy. But what we do see is Zoe trying to wrestle the ball away when the opposing team basically surrounds her and grabs her, which is sort of a normal basketball play to kind of
Yes.
like throw your arms around a little and try to get the ball back away. And Allie Jo responds, don't fucking hit me. And I was like, Allie Jo, do you understand what this sport is?
No, and Allie Jo just hates Zoe. And this continues to come across as the episode continues.
And then in retaliation, I guess, for some scrappy play, Allie Jo literally tackles Zoe while she's
This
taking
is
a
so
jump shot.
rough.
Flagrant foul. Like she should have been sent off the court. But that's not, they love when they injure each other. So obviously that's not going to happen. So this is like fueling the tension with Zoe. And then Grant's Pride ultimately wins 18-2, which is the tall girls, Chloe, Natalie, Zoe, Beverly, and Parisa. And Chloe actually wins the MVP prize.
Oh, I love me some Chloe. So I did love to see her win.
She really stepped up. She was making some plays, and Grant had his eye on her out on that court. So she gets the Letterman jacket in Lakers colors, of course, because as we learned when we did not know about LeBron James and the chalk clap.
I know. I'm so sorry,
last
guys. We've
episode.
been duly schooled.
We learned that Grant really loves the Lakers, and his last name is on the back. She gets a kiss in front of everyone. They're really leaning into, like, I felt like I was watching that Jennifer Garner presentation in 13 going on 30 when she's like, we need to get back to like Letterman jackets and the homecoming dance and pom-poms and like the quarterback kissing the cheerleader at halftime, you know, like they're like, let's nostalgia for the hot jock and the prom queen and the varsity jacket, heteronormative love. Let's bring it all back. Allie Jo isn't happy about it, though. And she's like, I hope we all get time with Grant tonight and there's no cattiness and drama.
So, we know what we can look forward to, although I hate the term cattiness.
It's time for the first night date of the season. And Grant and the ladies all gather for drinks, and he critiques some of their basketball fundamentals, but praises their passion for the game. And then he takes Chloe for a little time first. They have a little shoot around. He pops champagne. I guess this is like part of her special prize is extra special one-on-one time with Grant. And so he tells her that he noticed her during the date. He's like, you have a radiance that's welcoming and you have a mean layup. And she's like, well, ball's there, you shoot it. And he's like, I love that.
I really like Chloe. I love her vibe. She just seems like a good time.
Me too. She's like, yeah, I am confident. And yeah, I just go for it. That's my thing. She's not like apologetic about anything about herself at all. Or like she just seems like very like matter of fact, like I'm here, I'm great, and I'm having fun.
And she seems secure in herself. Like she's not taking out any feelings she has about the process on the other women. And we see a lot of that start to brew this episode.
Yeah. She tells him her mantra is season, reason, or lifetime. Insanely Bachelor coded. And she thinks he's in her life for a reason, which he is. They're on this show together. Yes, that's
the reason. We were both cast by Warner Brothers on The Bachelor. It's, you know what? It's true. It's a great reason.
A reason. And Grant kisses her. After this, Natalie gets time with Grant, and she's like, basketball isn't really my sport. And he says he's more interested in how they were with the kids. And he points out that she was a fan favorite. They made lots of signs for her, as we noticed. And he shows her like a little video message that one of them made for Natalie, and he shows it to her.
It's really
And
cute.
she's like, I miss you already, Natalie. Like, you will keep missing her. You will never see her again.
But we got to get to the most important part of this interaction, which is that Grant and Natalie establish that their future beautiful children would be tall.
They will be tall.
I think we all know how important that is in this eugenics forward era we are in.
This episode is like The Bachelor : tall girl. Like, they're so concerned about height this episode. And she's like, well, would our daughter be allowed to play volleyball and not just basketball? And he's like, yeah, they can all play whatever sports they want. That's fine.
What an odd question.
I know. She's like, I know that obviously boys have to play basketball, but a girl, surely she could play a girl sport like volleyball.
She's like, Grant, as the head of our household, what sports would you allow our children to play?
Would you find volleyball to be a sufficiently feminine sport for our tall, beautiful daughter? They make out, and Grant seems to be really feeling it with Natalie. Meanwhile, the women have decided to confront Zoe. So they are all sitting tensely back in the sofa area. And she makes a comment about how Chloe is having her one-on-one time that she earned. And Allie Jo, as if waiting for a trigger, jumps in.
She was.
She's like, oh, you didn't earn yours. Like you just said that Chloe earned hers. You didn't earn yours. We were all supposed to do a slam dunk, and you took him away for the entire time.
And generally at this point, the other women are on Allie Jo's side because they were all annoyed by what Zoe did. Serafina says to the camera, we all want to talk to her being Zoe, and understand where she was coming from. And she just doesn't think that it was respectful the way that Zoe pulled him in front of the whole group. And Zoe's kind of nonchalantly like, well, who wouldn't take time? Alicia and Allie Jo strongly disagree. And Zoe's line is very much like, we all get one shot. There aren't rules here. I took the time. Oh, well.
Yeah. If you stole him, I wouldn't be mad. That's just how it goes. I only had one opportunity on this date. I took it. And Serafina says it was the wrong place and the wrong time. And Zoe says, when's the right place? Tomorrow when we're at home without him?
I mean, she's not wrong.
I think they're both kind of right in the sense that, like, Serafina is like, well, if you stole him for time when we were all practicing, maybe, and you took him away for 20 minutes, or at the cocktail hour, you hop in and you're like, I want to talk to him now. There are established moments when
it's a little bit more socially acceptable,
when it's less disruptive, and you chose the most sort of ostentatious and disruptive moment to do that. And Zoe is also, has a point here, which is I took the time when the time was presented, and it won't be available to me to take tomorrow. So in the middle of the slam dunk competition, it had to be. Juliana is like, well, would you do it again, knowing that it made us feel disrespected? And Zoe's like, oh, I hadn't heard that you felt disrespected, but I guess that explains how you all behaved the rest of the time.
I like how she acts like this one word makes all the difference. Like, you might have been able to pick up on the fact that they felt.
She knows. I feel like she's doing a bit of a Courtney Robertson play.
Yes, I think so. This feels like she came in ready to play this character. She came in ready to take whatever time was offered to her to play ball with production and to very calmly just brush off the other women's annoyance.
It's a risky move because if you're not the number one favorite of the lead, it can get really messy.
Yeah, eventually you will end up getting sent home like we saw with Tiara on Sean Lowe's season.
Eventually, the other women go and mingle at the bar, and Zoe is alone on the couch while they're like openly talking shit about her 5 feet away. Vicky is like with Juliana and Allie Jo laughing like, oh, I could never do something like what Zoe did. I've just never been the type. I just don't think I could do it. And Allie Jo says, well, if that's how you want to move, that's how you want to move. But it's not how I do it. If you're going to push me, I'm not going to put up with it.
They're very concerned about
shove
how someone moves. If they move like that, I'm going to move like this. And I'm going to move the way I move. And you're going to move the way you move. And I'm going to remember how the way you move made me feel.
Juliana's like, I'm just here to make my own move, and I will remember how you made me feel. They do all feel really marinated in like discourse about the show. Like they've taken in years of like analysis of like, why is she doing this? She should just make her own moves. And like you can remember what she did, but don't take it to the lead. You know, like it just feels like they're speaking.
They're all
in that
so
language.
aware of the structure of the show, of the way that people operate within the bounds of the show, with the kind of characters that they can each be labeled as or funneled into.
Yeah.
And
What people will say about them. Yeah. In Her in the Moment, Zoe says that she thought they might be a little annoyed, but more because they didn't think of it first. And they could take notes for next time. She's like, I'm not going to waste time on the sidelines gossiping and holding a grudge for doing what we're here to do. And I'm like, well, yeah, no one wants to gossip with you.
Also,
right
you've
now.
no one to hold a grudge against yet.
But
don't worry, you will.
I also wondered if she really, like, is this just her really explicitly choosing to rub them all wrong in order to play this Courtney Robertson role? Or does she kind of not understand? I think she must, because she's smart, that one way that women handle this aspect of the competition is by really rigorously policing the boundaries of okay ways to get time with the lead, and not by just being like, oh, I'll beat the best one at stealing time with the lead. Like they're all trying to make this process work for them, not just by getting the most time, but by making it really stigmatized and difficult for someone else to grab time away from them. That's an established dynamic on the show.
I think she understands what she's doing, and I think we might see that strategy shift over time. Yeah. But right now, I think that this was very intentional. So after this initial confrontation, Juliana gets time with Grant, and Grant is just so into Juliana. Like, he is giddy. His eyes are wide every time he sees her. They're always giggling together. And he's like, I remember that you broke a nail during the game, so I brought a bottle of like massage oil with me to lube up your beautiful hands.
This was on the verge of being weird. He was like, oh, your hands are so beautiful. Let me just rub them with this oil to fix your broken nail.
Look, it didn't matter. That's how I can tell she's a front runner, because this was nonsensical and could have felt creepy, except they just want to touch each other. So it really doesn't matter.
He's like squishing her gooey hands in between his hands, and she's like leaning her glistening shiny face close to him. And I was like, there's so much oil present in this moment. No, they're having the best time.
I was worried about her satin dress, to be honest.
Same.
I was like, don't get oil on it. Wipe that oil off somewhere safe, Juliana.
No, he's just so happy to do this act of service for her. It's almost like biblical. He's like, I want to anoint your hands with oil.
He even kisses them first.
I'm speechless. And he's like, I love how competitive and bubbly you are. And I'm like, well, I love how sweaty you are, and how you were with the kids is so great. She puts her oily hand on his face and they kiss. And then they're kind of laughing about how he's blushing. And then the music grinds to a halt because the camera has caught a glimpse of a figure in green behind Grant, and it's Zoe.
Oh.
He seems uncomfortable in this moment. I don't think that Juliana is someone that he is happy to have his time with interrupted.
No.
And Juliana is also pissed. And in Her in the Moment, she's like, you don't move like that in a group that respects each other. You move in a different way. And maybe she's going to move like that, but Juliana wouldn't move that way. So Juliana stalks back to the other women and tells them what happened. And immediately, Allie Jo is more angry than Juliana. So she's that girl. Yeah, she's the one who's like, everything that someone else does wrong to another person, I will be the one who is the most offended.
Yeah, I am going to take on this fight. And you're like, oh no, this is not going to go well.
Yeah. she's like, I haven't even gotten time with Grant yet. And if it were me, gloves would be on, which I guess is boxing instructor for the gloves would come off.
I couldn't stop laughing at this.
She's like, I know that you should really put your gloves on before you
Hand
punch each other.
safety for your beautiful hands. They'll need more than oil if I beat the shit out of someone without my gloves on.
As a boxer, she should know that phrase means that you're done with like the safe,
right? And now you're just like going right at it.
Now you're gonna bare knuckle brawl.
She wouldn't do that. She's too much of a lady.
No, she's too much of a Rumble fitness instructor. She's like, gloves, yes, glove safety.
Always on.
In the moment, she's like, Zoe's being extremely disrespectful. Everyone is fed up, and it's not going to fly with her.
Like, Allie Joe, not everyone is quite as fed up as you are, and that's going to be a problem.
Allie Joe loses the women with a speed that I don't think I have ever seen before, because they are all on her side. When she first kind of is part of the confrontation with Zoe, everyone else is nodding. They're like, yeah,
else
that was
moderately annoyed, but they're like, that doesn't mean we want a multi-week drama out of this. It doesn't mean we want to make like a permanent enemy in the house. We're just a little annoyed, and we support expressing that.
Meanwhile, Grant is getting that time with Zoe, and he's like, you're beautiful, you're smart. I want to see if there's an emotional connection. And I'm like, didn't you have like an hour together this afternoon? What did you talk about? And she says that when she was growing up, she was guarded, and it can be hard for her to open up, but she's learned to be open with people who help her feel safe. And the biggest roadblock is people doing things that don't make me feel safe.
You know, things that
might happen later tonight. But she wants to be wide, wide open. Grant is feeling connected and ready to kick her walls down. But Allie Joe is on her way to ruin this moment because she's getting even more worked up. Juliana and a few of the others are kind of egging her on, like, yeah, you haven't had time yet. And Zoe has had 2 bouts of time today. Like, you should go get your time. Go for it, girl. And she storms upstairs, bursts in, and is like, Grant, can I talk to you? Can I steal you for a minute? And Zoe says, just 2 minutes, and you can have him the rest of the night.
I mean, girl, we know that that's not going to happen.
I'm like, it's not the rest of yours to give away. Like, what do you mean you can have the rest of the night? She still has to share the rest of the night with all of the other women. So why are you acting like generous? Like, you can have the rest of the night after this. That's not your.
I think Zoe's trying something. She's like, will I be able to put her off a little bit longer? But no, Allie Joe stands her ground. She's like, look, you've had all the minutes. And Grant finally is like, okay, I'm being asked to go elsewhere. I will go with Allie Joe. But Zoe just lingers nearby. It's clear that she is not done.
I want to know what producers are planning with her.
I feel like she either is going to flame out or she's going to switch her strategy after next week, where we see her cry over the way that the other women are speaking about her.
Yeah. I just think that, like, to unrepentantly steal time from other women, and then when someone comes to steal time from you, to be like, 2 more minutes. No? Okay. Well, I do need to finish my conversation, so I'll be back. Like, it's so obvious that you are playing by different rules than you expect other women to play by. Like, she seems to feel like a certain entitlement.
Yeah, I think I just really find Allie Joe so off-putting that I don't feel as much empathy for her as perhaps I should in this situation.
I don't really feel empathy for Allie Joe. I just feel that Zoe is,
I think she's overplaying her hand in this way.
Like, Zoe's being like, oh, well, like, if they want to steal time, that's their right. But then when time is actually stolen from her, she's like, I'll just be in the corner waiting for like 2 minutes, and I'm going to be right back. And I'm like, no, that's not how it worked when you stole time from the other women. So she's like, she's waiting, biding her time while Allie Joe talks to Grant. What kind of vibe did you get from Grant during this conversation?
I was like, Grant hates Allie Joe. That was the vibe I got. Like, he's looking around, like, barely paying attention to what she's saying, nodding, just trying to, like, do the bare minimum. He does not want to be in this conversation, though, which is why Allie Joe being the one to, like, take on the fight with Zoe is just not going to be that effective. Because he does like Zoe.
Yeah, he was sort of lit up and having fun with Zoe. And so it's very stark to see how suddenly
dead behind the
exhausted he
eyes.
looks. Yeah, like he's like, like the way that I react when my 5-year-old is telling me about the rules of some game that he's been explaining for 3 hours already and they keep changing. And I'm just like, I can't.
Yeah. Okay, sweetie.
He's like, okay, yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, got it. Sure. Yeah, no, me too. And he looks like he wants to be asleep in his bed somewhere rather than have this conversation.
Wait, and this is exactly why when Zoe comes back to like interrupt again, it is a little obnoxious, but Grant is not mad about it because he doesn't want to be
like,
hanging out with Allie Joe. He's like, please, anyone, come on in.
Like she's just like, I want to coach my kids. I believe in fighting because I'm a boxing coach. And he's like,
He's like, yeah,
oh, Zoe. Yeah, no, of course. We can definitely talk again. Anyway, bye.
But obviously producers wanted this because they could sense that Allie Joe is a ticking time bomb and she's going to explode if Zoe pushes her just a little bit further.
Well, that's the thing. Like, of course, production is guiding Zoe's hand here because it is so clear that Allie Joe is
going to break.
Absolutely primed to give them like she was clearly cast to be this kind of person. She's like,
yes.
I will always say I will always stand up for what I believe.
Jersey is coming out.
The jersey is coming out. Like, and now they have her right where they want her. They're like, Zoe, you really should go back. You didn't get to finish your conversation. Zoe's like, yeah, I do deserve a little more time to say goodnight. Allie Joe storms back to the group and is like, I'm done with her. Their long friendship tragically ended. And when Zoe comes back in, there's a tense silence. And they're clearly all just waiting for Allie Joe to go off on her. And she does. We have a clip.
What is your problem? I've done nothing to you. I understand you want your time, but guess what, baby girl? So do I, and you've had it so many times. You stepped on all of our toes on the date earlier. You had talked to him before me, then you took him back when I was talking to him. Like, you've talked to him multiple times, so what is your problem with me that you needed to interrupt me? Tell me. Or are you need that much attention, you're that insecure?
Not calling another woman insecure.
This energy is what seems to make the other women like back away from their support of Allie Joe.
Immediately, all of the other women are like, oh, Zoe, you don't have to listen to her. That's a little too much.
Yeah, even Vicky and Juliana, who were actively shit-talking with Allie Joe earlier in the night, suddenly are like, well, I see both sides. Maybe she put it a little harshly.
They're sitting next to Zoe and they're sort of like turned in towards her, like they're trying to slightly shield her with their bodies. Like, Allie Joe, you lost the room faster than I have ever seen anyone lose the room on this show before. And
well, she made it a personal attack when obviously Zoe is just perhaps being selfish, but it's not like a targeted attack against Allie Joe alone.
Yeah. It's like, I've done nothing to you. Well, first of all, she did
literally tackle her,
knocked her over. But no, like putting aside the rough and tumble world of basketball, like Zoe clearly just wants her time. She has nothing specific against Allie Joe that we can see. What's actually the case is that Allie Joe specifically went and got time by stealing him from Zoe, therefore putting herself in the line of attack for Zoe's totally on brand retaliatory reclaiming of her time. She put herself in that firing line by being the one to steal him from Zoe. And like, I don't necessarily, I would not play this the way that Zoe did. I think she's probably, again, as we've said, doing it all very intentionally as like playing into a certain role, but I wouldn't do it. However, it's obviously not personal towards Allie Joe, but Allie Joe's feelings towards Zoe have been personal since very early on in this date. So she's like projecting. Yes. She's like, I have a problem with Zoe. So why does Zoe have a problem with me? What did I do to her?
She doesn't, babe.
She's just like this.
Everyone's trying to de-escalate, and Allie Joe is like, no. I don't take it back. She doesn't take it back. I don't take it back.
Yeah. Juliana is literally like, I know that was hard for you to hear, Zoe, but I hope you can see that that's not the whole group consensus. Like, we don't stand with this. And Ally Jo was like, yeah, because she did it to me. And everyone's like, okay, but like, give her a moment.
Calm
like,
down,
you just
ma'am.
came at her so hard. And now you're like, what are you going to say, huh? What are you going to say? She's not saying anything. And they're like, chill, give her space. And in the moment, Zoe says, there's no rule against anything I did. I'm allowed to do that. And Ally Jo could have said no when Zoe went to steal him. But she's just like focused on the rose. She's like, maybe I'll get the rose. They're all just like, the rose will save me from everything that's going on this group date. And Grant comes in and gives the group date rose to someone who is all about the kids, just like the date. So obviously it's Natalie. Of course it has to be Natalie. He is not going to give the rose to someone who caused chaos on the date.
Nor is he going to give it to someone that he hates, like Ally Jo.
So imagine if he gave it to Ally Jo. I want to give it to someone who really kept talking to me, even when it could not have been more clear that I was not enjoying the conversation. That's the kind of perseverance that I want to reward. Zoe seems pretty surprised not to get the rose after being attacked, but like getting the rose when you've been attacked by everyone on the date is actually a hard play because it means that he is taking your side against all the other women he's dating. So it's a rare path to also get all the roses while everyone hates you.
That's why there's only one Courtney Robertson, you know?
Yeah, it's hard to replicate. This was one of my favorite moments of the episode, actually. We get a little sequence before the next date where Parisa is at the Bachelor mansion in a string bikini and sheer sarong.
She's perfect.
Hunting tarantulas.
My girl is perfect. No Parisa slander. We love her. This was pure comedy.
She says, while I'm looking for tarantulas, Alexe will be on a wonderful date with Grant. I'm so happy for you. As if she's being forced to hunt for tarantulas or even asked to hunt for tarantulas. No one wants her to hunt for tarantulas. And she's like, I can't believe I have to search for tarantulas.
She took this case on pro bono.
I personally would not have chosen that outfit to hunt for large, hairy spiders.
There's a lot of holes. There's a lot of places on the body that the tarantula could crawl. Seems
a lot of exposed
unwise.
Skin. I would say her skin is much, much more exposed than not exposed. It's quicker to just point out the areas that are covered that a tarantula wouldn't be able to directly touch.
I agree.
Next time I would do long pants, long socks, long sleeve shirt, scarf around the face.
Nice tight belt around the waist just to really secure things. Yeah. You know, but God. Parisa, she's brave.
I'm obsessed with her.
Me too.
Alex's one-on-one is a night date at the Beverly Center Mall. The establishing scene for this is perfect. There are some extremely unromantic establishing shots of like barriers that read closed across the mall floor and like 3 random rolling chairs on the mezzanine that it's like they've arranged it to take a video of it. Why? It's just like 3 rolling chairs by the mezzanine. It looks like a closed indoor mall, which is what it is, but like that's not romantic. There is a trail of rose petals and we see Grant kind of hand scattering them.
Okay, so this date should not be romantic. It is weird and post-apocalyptic, and it reminds me of those like articles that used to go viral that's just like, look at this abandoned mall from the 1970s. Here's a bunch of photos. And yet I loved this date and I thought that it ended up being super cute.
They had to really make the most of it. Like Alexe shows up looking gorgeous and Grant like descends to meet her on an escalator and she's like, oh my God, this is the best date. What a dream. We get the whole mall to ourselves. We get to shop. We get to eat in the food court. Like who wouldn't want this? And I'm like, who would want this? This is Ling Ma's Severance. This is the whole global economy has shut down and we're living in the wreckage of a world that no longer exists. That's the vibe here.
I mean, I will be moving into my local mall when the apocalypse comes because I'm not a prepper. I don't have a bunker.
I don't have anything. Yeah. We need to move somewhere where there are a bunch of
I think
sneakers.
What works for me about this is that as, you know, a super fan of from the mixed up files of Mrs. Basley,
Mhm.
Frank Weiler. This is obviously not sleeping at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, but there is like an after hours kid like giddiness at just like being in a place that you're not supposed to be alone. Like there is just something kind of weird and fun about that setting.
I see. The thing is that when it's a museum date, I completely agree. Right? Like when it's a museum date, I'm like, ooh, from the mixed up files, like we're sleeping in the museum overnight. And when it's a mall, I'm just like, apocalypse.
Maybe I'm into apocalypses because this just is kind of, I don't know. It kind of worked for me. I don't know. It probably says something really bad about me.
What worked for me is that
Alex is also just
great.
adorable, and Grant,
Yeah.
they like each other. This would have been very different if the date itself didn't go well, but because they're having fun, I don't know. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
They run around. They're like riding big stuffed animals. They're like going shopping. They're doing little races and making huge ice cream sundaes. I was like, this date is way more my speed
Yeah.
than basketball.
That is true. They go into like a mattress store and jump on a bed, and then they
So
lay on it and
fun.
make out. And then we at some point like see some like surveillance camera angle footage.
We didn't
of-
need that.
It's like they want me to be creeped out by this date, some of the directing choices they were making. But then Grant decides to share one of his passions. After beatboxing through the speaker system, he decides he has even more musical genius to share with Alex.
There is a piano.
In the middle of a store, not a music store, but here's a piano.
We have a clip of what happens next.
We don't know how much time we got left. We don't know when we take our last breath. All we got is the people that we love. So toast your cheers and just raise your glasses up. We don't know cause the circumstances change. Should I take a chance or stay in my own lane? All we got is the people that we love. So take a cheers and we raise the glasses up, girl. I know it takes two to make it, and I'll never let you go. We don't know, I just made this song up. I made it up and we're going till we stop.
Did you just make that up like now?
Yeah, I
That
made
is-
it up.
Did you, Grant? Did you
Did
just
you
make it up?
Make that up? I mean, I hope that you did, because then maybe I can forgive the line, we should toast our cheers and raise our glass up. Toast to cheers.
So you know, maybe he's just really good at freestyle songwriting.
I mean, I can't believe that we had no idea that he wanted a career in music until last week.
And now it's so clear.
He has made basically like 60% of this episode about his attempt to launch a music career.
I was absolutely dying at this. It really works on Alex, though. And it was a little bit catchy. I was like, there's a reason that they have used this clip in every promo for the season.
Yeah, he does have that, which I do believe that he came to the mansion with a bunch of legal pads covered in song lyrics, and he forgot how that song ended. And then he was like, oh, it's fine. I just made it up. That's why I don't know the words that go here. That part was not bad. But also Alex doesn't know about Party Girl.
Right. She's going in blind.
We didn't talk about this because there was some confusion last week, but we realized that we weren't sure if it was Party Girl or Party Girls. I had checked on Apple Music and I was like, oh, it is Party Girls.
But then it changed back to Party Girl, and then it changed to Party Girls. Someone's unsure.
Of what Grant's single is named.
Is there one Party Girl, or are there multiple? The people need to know.
The people need to know. But Alex doesn't know about Party Girl / girls at all. So for her, she's like, oh my God, this guy who's just a basketball player and day trader wrote me a romantic song on the spot. Of course she's swooning. She's like, I'm not used to dating emotional guys that write you songs. Like, that was the sweetest moment ever. And did you see, by the way, the reel of her ex-boyfriend watching the first episode?
Obviously, I'm pretty sure I sent it.
Yes, it was in our chat. I wasn't sure if it was you or Tatiana who sent it, but yeah, when they see the preview of her being like, "Oh, I'm not used to dating emotional guys that like write you songs." her ex-boyfriend is like, "Yeah, well."
It was pretty
That's
funny.
true.
It's like the reel or TikTok was made by I guess one of the girl space friends of her ex.
Yeah.
And they like had a watch party where they're just kind of laughing and roasting him the whole time. It was pretty funny.
And so they have a romantic picnic on the atrium floor, and Alex asks him for the one thing that makes him who he is, and what makes Grant, which is such a classic Bachelor question, because you have like 5 minutes to talk, and it's like, tell me one thing that explains everything about you so that we can be done with the conversation and I still can know if I'm ready to marry you. And he's like, for me, that is my relationship with my dad, and also the toll that my dad's issues took on our family. And that's all we need to know about Grant.
I guess
that
the
made him
show's
who he
over
is
now.
today. Yeah, it's over.
No
Yeah.
more conversations necessary. We also learn a bit more about Alex. She tells Grant that she was actually raised by her grandparents. She didn't see her dad for 17 years, and she is estranged from her mother. And she says that she went into speech therapy because she wanted to give the kids she works with the support that she didn't have growing up. Like, she just didn't feel heard or supported by her mother.
And she's like, I know what kind of mom I want to be, so I really want kids. I just need the missing piece. Sperm.
You
No,
can get that
she didn't say
at a
that.
bank.
It's like, I think it's implied that what she wants is a loving partner to have a family.
I get it.
And Grant gives her the rose, and then he puts a cassette in a boombox so they can slow
old
dance
school.
to Sea of Love by Cat Power, the Cat Power edition.
I thought this was great music choice.
Well, what's also interesting to me, even more so than the song, is that he seems to be referencing something that he knows about her, because he's like, I picked this for you. And then when the music kicks in, she seems really like surprised
Delighted?
and touched. Yeah.
I don't think we saw it though. Any discussion?
No,
of this.
that's why it just seemed revealing to me, because I was
Yeah.
like, it seems like he learned something about her that led him to making this choice, which is sweet. And then we see, as they slow dance, some of that surveillance video of the empty mall. So romantic. Can't believe that Grant and Alex made it out and were able to return to film the rest of the show.
It's a great setup also for like a slasher film.
Yes. No, exactly. Like, it really feels like something bad is about to happen.
But it doesn't. And we
But it
head
doesn't.
right on into group date 2. The remaining women are all getting ready and they're nervous because the first date was so intense. I think they are fearful of more physical combat. And Rebecca
And
is
verbal combat.
Oh, yeah, true. And verbal. Rebecca is explaining to Dina about fixing spray, which shockingly she doesn't already know about and use.
This was strange. I was like, how do you not know about fixing spray? These women's faces are all lacquered to the gods.
Yeah, which is just like a strong setting spray. That's what fixing spray is.
Right. She's just like, apparently it just like concretizes your face. And I'm like, you look like you would know about this. I don't know how you're keeping your makeup on through these long hours of filming. So Rebecca is going to put some on for her. And Dina's like, just use less than you'd use on yourself. And Rebecca pauses for like a long time and then is like, sure.
It's an odd thing to say, to be
Like,
fair.
yeah, it kind of implies that she thinks that Rebecca looks like she uses too
Right,
much
like
of
her
it.
face is bad in some way. It's just,
I think
it's
she's
weird.
probably like just nervous about trying a new product.
yes, I think so. But she doesn't explain it. She's just like, what you did to yourself, not for me. Very
Not
bad.
like that. But also they have this interesting dynamic. They seem to be like buddies, like that we see them together
Yeah.
a lot this episode. And Dina's like so grateful that she's helping her with her makeup. And she's also like, or she's sabotaging me. Like, we are going on a group date together. So that would be really smart if she were to do that.
I mean, she's obviously joking, but yeah, odd dynamic.
Friendship.
So this group date has Rebecca, Dina, Ella, Latia, Bailey, Rose, and Carolina on it. And they have arrived to an even more explicitly music industry themed date. Grant is ready. He has another original all prepped.
He needs to like show a little more chill. Like you can't be this
One an episode,
desperate.
Grant.
He ushers them inside the theater, and Mario is singing the 2004 pop hit "Let Me Love You."
I was actually so thrilled that there was a pop star or like a performer that I actually had heard of. It was like Mario is huge, and that song, huge.
This is what they should be doing more of. Like, if they want to cater to the audience, like I understand there's like value in like promoting newer artists, and so they want to put these more like unknown people on, or like people who have like small but growing careers. But like if you want to get the audience of The Bachelor excited, you need a 2004 R&B hit.
Cater to us millennials. And to
I
be
bet
fair,
a lot of those singers aren't doing very much right now, so they would be happy to get on and be like, "Let me love you, maybe like the one to anything, the thing you want and need." And everyone's like, "Oh my God, I was 8 when this song came out and it changed my life."
But they do all know the lyrics.
No, of course. Yeah, it's a classic. That's a golden oldie now.
Oh, so depressing. I was in high school.
No, they know the song. They know it very well, and they're very excited.
Grant explains in his ITM that he just really loves expressing his feelings through poetry and music. Yes, Grant, we know all your feelings about party girl.
Party girl / girls ? And the women are going to be writing their own R&B songs. Well, actually, they won't be writing their own R&B songs.
Thank
they are
God.
supposed to write their own R&B songs, but they don't. So they can express themselves through song and dance for Grant. What they write is more sort of like spoken word riffs.
Honestly, that was better for them. It was better for us watching. I did not need a full original from every single one of them. And I felt like it was probably a lot more fun for them to get to do like a group number and then each have their little 2-line solo where they just do a little like, "Grant is the best man ever. We're going to end up together forever."
It's not that I wanted them to write a whole song. I just wanted them to write song.
You wanted them to sing is what you're saying rather than.
Yeah, I thought it would be more fun to have some little like R&B verses, and they barely make an effort. But they also learned how to do some dance moves. This is like a star fucking studded date.
It
Robin
is.
Anton, the creator of the Pussycat Dolls, is also there.
I guess she's on a Hulu show. That a lot of what we see in these tie-ins is this person is on a Hulu show or has a relationship with Hulu or ABC in
Synergy,
some
baby.
capacity. Yeah.
And so she shows them some sexy dance moves, and Grant joins in. He's like, "I'm doing so good. I'm nailing these moves." And I'm like, "Grant, you don't have to wear heels. So save it. Spare me." But the women have fun with it. Ella's like, "I'm no talent, all vibes, but like, this is what I would love to do on a date is just have Grant watch me do my little dancey dance."
Love that confidence. Dina, on the other hand, looks extremely stressed. She is like, "This is not my happy place. My happy place would be at the Republican fundraiser gala at Mar-a-Lago."
Yeah, I would love to be one of the hottest women at my table at the Republican fundraiser gala at Mar-a-Lago. She's like, "I'm not someone that's in that creative space ever. Just like, no." But her buddy Rebecca is in that creative space, and she loves music. So she's getting in the groove quickly. She's like, "Where the mind goes, energy flows, and I'll be getting that rose."
I immediately knew that this was not going to go well for her. It
No.
basically never does for the woman who's like, "I have actual skills. I'm going to really nail this assignment."
Yeah.
It just, they never get rewarded for that.
Right. And it's like partly because it's not really about that. And it's partly because production loves to set someone up who thinks they're going to do so, and get lots of in the moment interviews of them being like,
I'm so confident.
This
I'm
rose
getting
is
this.
mine. Yeah, I'm the only one who really has a background in music. I'm the only one who played softball growing up. Like, this rose is so mine, as I can already feel it between my fingers. They want all of that material so that they can show you having a breakdown when you don't get the rose, and it goes to someone who like
Exactly.
fell on their ass and like didn't even run around the bases. So the women get glammed up in their costumes.
There are a
the
lot of
full
like
audience
bright
assembles.
pink corsets. There's like a unifying theme. A lot of
I kind of
metallic
enjoyed
pink.
it. I was like,
I did
yeah,
too.
this girl group core.
I
Let's do it.
loved it. I thought it was fun.
Most of the women are pretty stressed and don't really have any experience in this kind of performance. Latia's like, I'm so far out of my comfort zone. I can't even see my comfort zone from here.
I really enjoy Latia.
I mean, I like her too. I like her more than I expected. Her performances, I mean, they're struggle busting out there. But before they start, someone who does not struggle when it comes to performing music in front of a crowd, Grant, surprise, has another original song that he just wrote on the way over.
So
like, where did this come from?
He's just there. He's there.
Just
He's
a
there
little
to
brain
perform,
fart I had.
to put them all at ease. It's not about him. It's not about him. This is about the women. We have a clip.
Hopefully that sounds good. This is either going to be a meme or it's going to be a great memory. Either way, it's going to be one for the books, and we'll see how I do.
Girl, I knew from the first moment I met you. I ain't trying to stress you, I'm trying to protect you. No, I'm dating other women. Girl, with you I'm winning. Never gon' bail like a Christian.
Grant's
All the time,
out there
know that
having
we
fun,
winning.
singing,
Us.
dancing,
Do it.
freestyling. I'm like,
I said, I just wanna roll with the top down and the window down. I mean, Bobby, girl, we getting it too. See that?
He just wants to roll with the top down in a 2-seater. Also, I just want everyone to note the beginning of that clip in which Grant said, this is either going to be a meme or a great memory. I was like,
Self-aware.
meme. It will
It's gonna
be
be a
a meme.
meme.
It's going to be a meme, Grant.
Listen, it can be a great memory for him if he wants it to be. Personally, I thought that when Dina described this as a cute surprise, that was about as nice of a thing as you could say.
Oh, that rap. So cute.
So cute. That's really cute that you did that. I love Grant and many things about Grant.
Incredible Bachelor choice. However,
I don't think this career is going to work out for him. I don't think he should leave his day job in day trading.
I am gonna agree.
So after Grant puts them at ease by performing his like semi-professional pre-written song to a crowd of like swooning women, he's like, now you guys go. You're going to nail it. And
It's time for the Backstreet Girls.
the Backstreet Girls. They have these solo verses, as we said. It does make Grant's performance look quite good by comparison. Mostly spoken word to the beat. Bailey does the splits. She's like, maybe I'll get points for being really flexible.
You gotta try. That would probably be my move, honestly.
Yeah. Latia basically just speaks. Like, she doesn't even really try to speak
Latia
to
is
the
not
beat.
down.
She does the thing where she's like, this isn't really my strength, so I can still be your wife. And then she like gives him a kiss. But she seems so like nervous and uncomfortable that I think it undercuts what a power move that can be.
Yeah, I
to
agree.
do the kiss at the performance. And then Rebecca has her turn. She has been really hyping herself up. She's not a pro, but she does try to sing. She's like the only one that I saw really try to
She
sing.
did go for it, and I applaud her for that.
Her verse suggests that they get engaged and make a baby, a baby, a baby. And then
That's
she
beautiful,
turns
Claire.
around. Thank you. And she has written Mrs. Ellis on her back in marker. These women will stop at nothing to have Ellis written on their back.
You don't actually have to cede your entire lifelong identity to marry this man. You don't have to.
You should at least wait until you're actually married. Like, you're
Yeah,
just
also
like, this is
probably
my name
true.
now. I've branded it on myself. What's he
I
giving
am
me?
Mrs. Ellis.
So of course Rebecca was way too determined to win. She definitely can't win. And Carolina ends up taking it for her verse, which is very enthusiastic.
She brought
And
the energy.
She does it half Spanish and like ends with that sort of like, Grant loves that. He's like, I don't know what she's saying, but like, I love the way she's saying it. And then she kisses him with a little bit more flair and confidence than Latia. So she has that like kind of energetic, fun-loving performance that tends to win. And it does. So her prize is that they get to do a solo dance together on stage while Mario serenades them. And it's like really, I thought, pretty awkward.
It's not a good prize. It's actually a prize that forces you into a position to like make enemies and make everyone else uncomfortable. And it also doesn't really give you any advantage with the lead.
Right. It's not intimate at all. You're not learning anything about each other. You're just being like, am I picking up on the moves he's trying to do with me? Like, are we dancing together well? Like, what's the vibe? And then everyone's watching, like, so jealous. And all you're doing is sort of self-consciously performing something you haven't rehearsed.
She ultimately straddles Grant on the couch and they make out a bunch. And the other women start to have full-on breakdowns. Multiple of them start crying.
Dina is murderous. Bailey is like desperately trying to compartmentalize. She's like, I'm just can't
She's
think about that.
dissociating. Like all of us.
And with that, it's time for the night date. And as they sit, the women are all looking rattled and brittle. It's like week 4 vibes.
I was kind of shocked at how rattled they all were so early just by seeing someone make out with him. I don't know.
They don't seem prepared for the psychological onslaught of watching the Bachelor make out with other people.
It's going to get so much worse. I understand that some of them are starting to be very aware that they like have not received any validation from Grant. And it's very easy to get in your own head. But we usually see the women holding it together pretty well until at least like week 4.
I feel like this group date breaks down faster. And I wonder if part of that is that they actually try not to take it out on Carolina. I know Carolina feels like they're taking it out on her, but they actually, from what I can tell, aren't. And so instead they're turning it sort of like inward, and instead of being like, how dare that slut make out with him in front of us, that was trashy, they're just like, Grant hates me because he made out with Carolina, and like, what am I gonna do? Where do I stand? Like, I don't know, you know, that they're getting really in their heads.
Yeah, that's so true. So Grant walks in and everyone is just such a bad vibe that he immediately picks up on it. He's like, so guys, did you have fun? Did you like the performance? And they're like, yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, it would be hilarious if he didn't pick up on this.
I mean, they're all just staring at him blankly and look so like distressed and unhappy.
Yeah.
And afterwards, he's like, I can tell that the women, quote, were kind of looking at me like, I don't know, I got weird energy. And
yeah,
so
they're pissed, Grant. That's what they're... He's like, I can tell that Bachelor contestants only behave this way when they're in great distress. Something is not right.
So he pulls Rebecca first, and I very much got the sense that Rebecca was only getting this time to be the one to explain to him what's going on. He does not really seem that interested in getting to know her romantically.
Right. This was actually, I mean, based on what happens later, I think that it seems pretty clear that he didn't want to spend his time with someone that he really liked figuring out what was going on.
Right.
He wanted to get the scuttlebutt from someone who is like a non-contender so that he could be repairing with the people that he really likes.
Exactly.
And like really focusing on them.
Rebecca, however, handles this really well, I thought. He kind of asks her, I sense this weird vibe. What's going on? And Rebecca's very diplomatic. She says, you've been on group dates. It's tough. I can't always be chosen. It doesn't feel good, but I'm still very supportive in whatever you need to do to get the outcome you're here for. I was like, good job. No naming names, no blaming anyone. Yeah. You are refusing to take the bait here.
It was funny. She seemed a little confused. She's like, you've been on group dates. Like, you surely understand why we're all upset right now. Like, it doesn't feel good, but we support you. It's fine. And he's like, oh, I feel bad. I'm not used to dividing my attention and focusing on different women. I want all of you to feel good. And she's like, thank you. And that's so nice. And afterwards, she's like, I feel closer to him. I feel like he respects me. it's very, in that moment, I already, without knowing the outcome, I wrote, I'm not feeling a romantic spark there.
Yeah,
She thinks this is a positive development, but it's actually
this is
a
an
sign that he's
information
not,
gathering development.
Yeah. He's treating her more as like a means to an end here. After Rebecca goes back to the women to sort of like pep them up, she's like, I'm going to tell them that he gets it and like he everything's going to be fine. And she tells the women about their conversation and how she explained that some of them just felt a little bummed out after the date. And Carolina is immediately like, what do you mean by that? Because she has not clocked that there's a bad vibe at all.
And Carolina immediately gets a bit overly defensive. I understand feeling upset, like bristling at the idea that like you just taking the prize that was part of the structure of the date would upset everyone, but no one blamed her, and
no one's coming at her.
No one was coming at her, and so I thought that her reaction was a little too defensive and didn't help her.
Like Rebecca and Dean are being very diplomatic. They're like, you know, it's just hard. Everyone put themselves out there. Of course, only one of us could be chosen for the prize, but it's hard, and then we have to like see the physical touch. We have to see that, and we have to be present for it. Like it's hard not to feel bad afterwards. And in the moment, Carolina seems pretty irritated that a damper is being put on her big day that she should be celebrating because she has to feel bad and guilty about the other women. And I was like, just don't feel bad about them. Then.
Right.
No one is even asking you to feel bad. They're literally just like, we feel bad. And she's like, oh, I can't believe they're asking me to feel bad instead of celebrating how I won.
Girl, keep celebrating.
Keep celebrating. It's your big day. But things do continue to escalate a bit because she's getting kind of defensive. She's like, well, I'm not someone who would make out with him in front of other women. And Dina's like, well, you did. And I'm like, why were you trying to defend yourself at all? Like, no one was, that we could see, no one was coming at her.
Yeah, Carolina kind of did this to herself. And I was like, she seemed to read into something that was not about her and was about the other women as like she was almost trying to fend off a slut shaming attack, but there was not a slut shaming attack made, at least as far as we saw.
Right. As far as we saw. And she's like, well, you guys could, it's not just one thing or the other. You could feel happy for me and also frustrated for yourselves. It's like, they also don't have to feel happy for you.
No, that's for you. You feel happy for you.
You don't want to think about how they feel bad. Maybe they don't want to think about how you feel happy.
And both are actually fine.
Both are valid.
But Carolina starts getting in her own head and she's like, oh, now Grant's going to feel guilty because of me. And now I'm going to have to talk about this with him.
Yeah, she's like, he's going to push me away to make it up to the other women. It's so unfair. Now I have to address it. And I don't want this to be what our connection is about, but I have to. And I'm like, you could
just not.
Like, if he doesn't come into your conversation like cold or saying like, I want to talk about what happened, we shouldn't have done that. Just don't. I want to set Carolina on a better path here.
I know, because I really like Carolina. Like, don't get in your own way.
So Rose gets a little time with Grant and also tells him that she's struggling with the process. And he's like, I do think about you and I'm very interested. For example, when you were literally dancing on a stage for me, I was thinking about you in that moment.
I do think that Grant is into Rose, though, because there's a lot of women that he doesn't go out of his way to be like, I am interested in you.
I believe that he is interested in her enough for her to make it a few more episodes.
Yeah.
But I thought that was just a really funny thing
It was funny.
My mind was not actually wandering during the moment that you were shaking your ass for me specifically. I was not thinking about my grocery shopping then.
But this does help Rose, and she's much calmer after their conversation.
Latia has a conversation with Grant that I thought was unusual and interesting because she has been ruminating on a sort of little suave pickup line he used on her and isn't happy about it. And she kind of wants to like have it out with him in very respectful, calm way.
I honestly loved this. I thought this was so interesting. She says to the camera that it kind of bothered her and triggered her when Grant said to her, "You don't get told to no a lot, do you? Because you're very beautiful." And she's like, "Believe it or not, I actually get told no all the time." Which, yeah,
like many women in relationships. I was really struck by this also because we hated that line.
yeah, we hated it. It did feel very like you are reducing her to something surface. Also, discounting the ways that even beautiful women can be like victimized by men, treated badly by men. Like, beauty does not shield you from rejection and pain.
But also, like, I think what really bugged me about it is that she was trying to talk to him about something
Right.
that mattered to her.
Oh, right. Yeah,
and
you're right.
he turned it into like a pickup line so that he could kiss her, which is what he wanted to do. And I'm not like saying that that's like this horrible crime. Like, he's meeting so many women and having so many conversations, and he's not going to nail every one of them.
And she also doesn't treat it like a horrible crime. We have a clip of how this interaction goes, and I thought it was I was glad that she brought it up to him.
You said something during our last conversation, like, I'm attractive, and so I don't get told no.
Right.
I think it was just like kind of a trigger for me, and so I just wanted to like clarify a little bit because I get told no all the time.
I feel like I came off wrong, and I want to apologize for saying that because
I have to make a decision based off of initial first appearances, and you're so beautiful. I made a quick judgment.
so I definitely want to apologize for that. It was something that it wasn't called for, it wasn't warranted, but tell me, what brought you here?
I love that Grant immediately said, "You know what? I'm sorry. I made the wrong call. That wasn't a comment that was warranted." And like, he did not push back even a little bit. And I appreciated that.
Yeah, he just owned it. And
Yeah.
Yeah, and clearly he likes Latia and
Yeah.
wants to not have things derailed.
I just thought that it showed like a confidence on her part, because I think there is a tendency, understandably, women just want to like keep everything very easy breezy. There's a lot of focus on making it seamless to be around the lead, like making it easy for the lead to be around you. And Latia is kind of putting herself out there in this way of being like, "Hey, something you said actually bothered me and I want to talk about it."
Yeah, she's like, you weren't seeing me for who I actually am. And so he asked what brought her here, and she says she was in a 3.5-year on and off relationship where she assumed they wanted the same things, but he actually didn't, and she did not check. Women, check. You gotta check. And she says that she wants to get married and have a family. And she cries a little bit. She says she's sick of dating and that she always forgets to ask until it's too late, and she loves them. This is really, this made me really sad for her. And also I'm like, I think that women are afraid to bring it up early, but you're
going to save yourself
want it to
heartache.
be too late, and you love them before you have this conversation. I brought it up on the first date. I don't care. Like, I don't want to waste my time.
I think what struck me is also just her exhaustion, because that is something I definitely felt. And I know that a lot of my single woman friends feel with dating culture, that it's just, they're ready to be done. Like, it's fucking tiring.
I mean, it's the Charlotte York cri de coeur, right? Like,
yes.
I've been dating for 16 years. I'm sick of dating. Where is he? Like,
and Grant wraps her up in a big hug. And he's like, "This is actually what I'm looking for, you know, someone who's going to be emotionally vulnerable." And he says he's sick of dating too, which I liked.
I mean, men say these things. I'm like,
I know.
Is it hard for you? Is it hard for you out there with all these beautiful women? She says that she looks gross from crying, and he wraps her in a big hug, presumably so he doesn't have to see her disgusting face covered in tears. I don't think you're allowed to go on The Bachelor unless you look beautiful when you cry.
Is definitely a prerequisite. They probably make you start weeping during the like round of interviews for when they make the decisions. They're like, oh,
yeah.
that one. No, not
Yeah.
a cute crier.
And he's like, I think I could care for you and be there for you. And that, he's like, I fall kind of fast. And she says, me too. And they kiss. So
She's gonna be there a while.
I feel confident about her chances of making it to the back half of the season.
I'm getting real front runner energy from Latia, from Juliana. Alex seems to be doing pretty well.
I think Alex is a classic top
flame
6.
out. Yeah, I know. I think she's top 6 too.
We'll see.
Tends to be where the first one-on-one
Yeah, that's
lands.
the thing. Carolina then sits down with Grant, and it's time to confront him about how some women feel sad that they didn't get a prize like she did. And she's like, I've heard whispers, things were brought up that made me sad, and it put a damper on my great day. It sucks to see people unhappy at you being happy. And she's like, I would rather focus on our connection.
And that's why I brought this up.
I was like bummed at this because I do feel like it kind of casts some aspersions at the other women, that they are kind of selfish and unkind to her for struggling with their aspect of the process. And like she's the victim because they're not overtly happy that she got this special time and got to like make out with him on a couch. Like no one did anything to her that I can see.
Yeah, I agree. But Grant jumps into defense mode. He's like, you didn't do anything wrong. Come to me next time and let me know if you catch any slack. Like, I want to protect you. And she is just instantly happy again.
And he's like, I need a kiss so I can get some lipstick on. She's wearing like very glossy lipstick, and they smooch a little. The women are all desperate for the rose at the end of this group date. Of course, like they're literally in a shambles. It's been 24 hours and they can't handle it. But the rose goes to Latia. She's thrilled that his actions matched his words. But of course, for all the other women, it feels like the actions didn't match his words because they didn't get the rose. And so they are not feeling so good. And Carolina is like, for this to be the way the night ends, it's a little frustrating. I know he's doing his best. We all signed up for this process, but I want that validation as well. This sounded frankenbitten to me. Like I heard a pause, especially between but and I want that validation as well. She did, just for the record, get validation. She is one of 2 people on the date who got some form of concrete validation.
But not the rose.
The next morning, Bailey is weeping on the outdoor couches with Serafina because she is so stressed about not knowing where she stands with Grant after the date the night before. And like a good influencer, she's wearing her glossy under eye patches during her ITM. Are we moving towards get ready with me ITMs? I feel like we are.
Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't they?
Like first eye patches, like next season they're going to be like
in the mirror, getting
brushing
ready.
in their contour. Yeah.
You don't even need a producer anymore. They just talk straight to the camera. Oh, I felt so bad for Bailey. I was like, oh no, this poor girl is just stressed the fuck out and all of her emotions are coming out her eyeballs. And as a crier, including in moments where I really don't want to cry, I just really related to her for the rest of the episode and felt so bad for her.
I feel like she came in with her little like peppy, like, let's do selfies shtick. And now she's like, I don't think that I can go that far with that being my thing. Now what? And she's kind of spiraling. Time for the cocktail party. Grant addresses the women and is like, the most important thing for me to fall in love is emotional availability.
Wow. You get a gold star, Grant.
He's so evolved. Beverly, like every woman who goes on these shows or, lives in America, is swooning at the idea of an emotionally available man. She's like, Grant, say more about what that means to you. Can you speak a little bit on that? And he's like, well, I think that doesn't make me weak. It's really a strength. And, when my parents argued when I was young, I used to go to my room and shut the door and just not talk to anyone. And so it's really important to me now to be able to share freely with the person I love. And she's like, absolutely. I will always support you and be a safe space for you. And he's like,
thank you.
Amazing. Thank you. Beverly is so understanding. and
Meanwhile,
beautiful. I love Beverly. I want to see more of her.
Meanwhile, Bailey is weeping on the couch. Poor Bailey, telling the girls that she loves to be silly, but she also has deeper emotions and it's hard for her to share them. And Ella is trying to comfort her. She's like, look, being vulnerable is okay, but just don't let your emotions get the best of you and go into your interactions with Grant pessimistic.
Ella had a little bit of time with Grant where she read him a card she wrote to him about how emotional vulnerability is literally so important to her. And he was like, me too. Can I keep this card? And she's like, yes.
And then he sends her home.
It's going to be his stupid. He's like, can I have this? Are you sure? Like, you're not going to be here much longer. You might want to take it with you for the next guy. But despite the pep talk that Ella gives Bailey, Bailey does go into her time with Grant a bit down. Before she was like, I need to get all my tears out and my feelings before I talk to him. Listen, Bailey, I get it, girl. That never works for me either. Like, I'm just going to cry now and then I'll be fine later. Nope.
Because of course she just has to talk about how she's doing. And the minute your eyes just start watering. Oh, yeah. God, it's so relatable. She ultimately does tell Grant that she's been struggling and it's hard for her to be vulnerable so quickly. And then she's like, I don't want to cry in front of you. And he's like, I don't want to cry. And she's like, I'm trying not to. It's too early.
Yeah. He's like trying to wipe away her tears with his thumb. And she's sort of like fending him off. Like, no, it's fine. Like, haha, I've been crying all day. Like, in a way, the tough thing here is that she wants to be fun instead of weepy. But she can't. But she should instead, I think, lean into letting him comfort her.
I was just going to say that. She probably should not then push him away when he tries to be kind. She should just say, thank you, glad you understand. And instead, clearly producers have set her up to leave this conversation dissatisfied because they send Chloe in to interrupt. And because of where they are sitting outside the front door, like on the stoop. By the time Chloe has opened the door to interrupt and clocked that Bailey is crying, like it's too late. She's already interrupted.
It's not a good moment. Like, she has basically just gotten to the point of being like, haha, I really didn't want to cry in front of you. But anyway, here we are. And then Chloe's like, can I have him?
Oh,
and they hadn't even gotten to anything else that Bailey might want to talk about. And she is really upset after this. She's like, oh, crying in front of him is like date 5, not date 2. Like, not cute.
Oh, Bailey.
So we see Grant like laughing and flirting with Carolina and Zoe, who shows him some wrestling moves, and Bailey is spiraling. I mean, we had our designated episode 1 mental breakdown victim, Savannah. Bailey is our second in line.
It's rough.
Soon it's time for the rose ceremony, and Grant, they had to speed all this up because the drama on the group dates.
I know. They were like,
so much time.
Yeah, we didn't need drama during the cocktail party. We got a few tears from Bailey, and on we go to the rose ceremony. Grant comes in, and you can tell he's already in a position where he's like, please, no one take this personally. I beg you not to cry. I have feelings for all of you. I can't give you all roses.
He's like, if you don't receive a rose, it's not because I don't have feelings for you. And
like,
I'm like,
Grant,
you have
yes,
feelings
it is.
for
it's okay.
18 women? Like, it's okay.
It's okay, Grant. You don't have to give them all roses, and you can't. They're gonna cry. You can't control that.
Mildly liking them is a feeling.
There are feelings there. Mild liking, annoyance is the feeling with Allie Joe, a whole range of feelings, really.
Well, when Allie Joe receives a rose, it's not because he does have feelings for her.
Exactly.
The roses go to Juliana, Beverly, Serafina, Carolina, Zoe, Dina, Rose, Bailey, Parisa, Allie Joe, and Chloe. Of course, Carolina, Alex, and Natalie already had roses. This means going home are Alicia, Ella, Rebecca, and Vicky.
Okay, so I had 2 feelings during this. One, I was so scared they were going to send Chloe home week 2 as a little like, oh, you said don't send the person with 1 ounce of body diversity home after 1 week. So we gave you 2. I was getting very nervous. So I'm glad, especially because they did have some great moments.
They had such a nice connection on the during the date. Yeah.
And my second thought was I was actually really shocked to see Alicia go home so quickly because in episode 1, they seemed to have this really good rapport. I was like, what happened?
I know. That crashed into the side of the mountain really fast. Like that, like
I
what?
wondered, like, did they cut something where they just like had a conversation and it was very awkward and it was clear they both weren't into it? I don't know. Something
or like they
changed.
learned about some sort of incompatibility.
Yeah.
She doesn't seem that surprised.
Well, that's
or
what I
sad.
mean.
Yeah. She's like, I really sincerely, he's great. I wish him the best. The right man is still out there for me. Ella kind of breaks down. And I get it because she felt like their time together went really well. We often don't see that when someone gets sent home.
I know.
But we get a good amount of Ella having this good talk with him and then being like, feeling good. Like I'm going to get that rose tonight. Like we had such a good conversation. I see myself with him at the end.
I mean, as soon as she said that, I was like, oh no, you're going home.
Yeah. And she didn't see it coming. So she breaks down like before she even walks out.
Oh,
like
I felt so bad for her. She gets down like almost on her knees and is crying.
Yeah.
And
The
Grant's
women
like,
are
don't
all
worry, I have
comforting her.
feelings for all of you. Don't take it personally.
No, I do have feelings for you, Ella. You are just like number 17th on the list of the ones I have the strongest feelings for. Rebecca and Vicky don't get exit interviews. I kind of was surprised that Rebecca didn't get one. Vicky, we didn't see much from this week, but I feel like they should have acknowledged Rebecca leaving more. However, that brings us to the end of this episode.
Next week preview, comedian Hannah Berner is there to host a corporate America themed group date. They're all in like power suits,
did not understand what was
grabbing
happening
money
here.
in one of those like wind machines. I was like, honestly, given the political state of things, it feels like an appropriate time for chaotic cash grabs. There's a lot of metaphors in there.
A lot of people high up in government feel the same way.
Exactly. It's my point. Lisa Vanderpump is there for another group date, which involves dog grooming, I assume, at Vanderpump Dogs. I was like, they are doing this because Vanderpump Villa, of course, airs on Hulu.
Yeah.
It also means that we get to hear Grant's little like baby voice that he uses for dogs exclusively.
Or maybe now he will also use it with the woman in his life. Yeah.
We also see that Latia and Carolina are going to get one-on-ones, and Serafina is going to call Zoe's dress too short, which leads to a breakdown. Allie Jo also still in the mix, getting angry at Zoe for some reason. And Carolina is going to continue to be in the middle of some drama. We see her weeping and then calling Grant out for something that he allegedly said to someone else. Chloe also cries because she doesn't want to spend her date talking about two other girls.
Is she going on like a 3-on-1? I was like, what? Or
are those two other girls Carolina and Zoe? And everyone's just like, I don't want to be in this drama.
Yeah.
Rose is also crying and implies that she thinks she might be going home.
A lot coming up.
Lot to process.
Lot to process.
Guess we'll see what happens next week. And now it's time for Love to See It, Hate to See It. As always, let's start with Hate to See It to get that bad stuff out of the way. First, I just hated to see Allie Jo talking about the quote unquote cattiness of girls. It's a pet peeve of ours when people talk about women as being catty, as if there is not just conflict inherent to these situations.
Well, it's one of those things that you're sort of like doing by talking about it. Like she's like, ugh, all these girls are so catty. I hate all of them.
Right.
What she's doing is so fucked up. I mean, on that note, we hated to see Allie Jo's outsize and aggressive reaction to Zoe stealing more time with Grant. The way that she lost the room on that one should be studied in college courses. Like,
Truly.
she went way too hard. And again, see the hypocrisy of talking about other girls being catty.
Also hated to see Zoe's just epically bad gameplay. She just took it a little too hard and inevitably put herself in the midst of perhaps a little too much drama.
I really hated to see 2 more Mrs. Ellis moments.
Hated.
The Letterman jacket, which to be fair is just an Ellis moment. And Rebecca writing Mrs. Ellis on her actual skin.
And now
feel
Rebecca Ellis has left the chat, so rough that she gave up her identity for this.
I know. I hope it wasn't in Sharpie. That takes a while to wash off.
Also kind of hated to see Grant trying to convince us that he definitely did not show up with a dozen or more pre-written, quote-unquote, improvised R&B songs to casually perform during his time on the show. Grant, we get it. We know, man. I hated to see this, but on the other hand, I loved to see it because it gave us so much to talk about on this show.
I know. I'm like, do I love or hate to see what Grant is trying
both.
to pull off and thinks he's being so slick?
It's both.
I hated to see Bailey unable to stop crying this episode. Relatable, but it's tough. It's tough to be in that space.
And now it's time for Love to See It. I loved to see that Grant clearly cares about all of the women feeling safe and secure during this experience. He seems very aware of their dynamics and also concerned for any role that he is playing in them.
I really love to see Parisa hunting for tarantulas.
Oh my God. She is a gift.
I need more B-plot comedy in the house this season, and Parisa is bringing it.
Learn from Charles L. Okay. Also, we need Parisa in Paradise Stat. There are so many animals for her to interact with.
She's not going to have to hunt for anything. They will crawl into her bed at night.
I also love to see Alexe feeling validated rather than shamed for not having what she calls a cookie cutter family. This is a shift that I think the show has made in the right direction in recent years, where it is not seen as a ding on cast members if they don't come from like a two-parent household where their parents have been together for 50 years.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that was handled very well and straightforwardly. I love to see the women getting to perform together as a girl group. I mean, it's not something that we saw as a theme throughout the episode, but that, you know,
unity,
standing together as women, Backstreet Girls, you know, and not maybe quite so much having to do full standalone performances was probably better for everyone.
We also love to see that Latia was able to bring up that Grant's prior comment had landed badly for her, and that Grant really quickly owned it, apologized in a very genuine way, and seemed to really be listening to her.
I love to see Grant's facial expressions during his conversation with Allie Joe. That man cannot fake it. He hates her.
And we are delighted by it. I'm so sorry, but we deserve this small moment of joy.
It's funny.
I'm sorry, it's funny. And finally, we love to see a man who, at least in his words, says that he's sick of dating and likes emotional availability. This obviously remains to be seen whether these things will bear out through the rest of the show, but heading in the right direction. Thank you, Grant.
And now let's give this episode a drama rating out of 10 yes drama llamas.
A sharp increase from last. Sharp. I was like, is this a 7, maybe even an 8, a 7.5? I mean, we got overt interpersonal conflicts on both group dates and so many just like errant tears. They're happening everywhere.
Yeah, this was a high conflict episode too, and it looks like there's a lot more to follow. So when we get to the episode where Serafina calls Zoe's dress too short,
you mean next week,
we might break the scale. I mean, I don't know. They might just keep teasing that for a while.
True.
I'm pretty sure that was because it teased like 5 dates. So who knows when it will happen. Maybe next week it might break the scale.
And on that note, that is it for this episode of Love to See It with Emma and Claire.
Love to See It is a presentation of Odyssey. The show is produced by us, Claire Fallon, and Emma Gray. This episode was edited by Hannah Dickinson. Our theme music is by Tamar Habib, and our art is by Aaron Nestor.
If you like our show, remember to follow us, rate us 5 stars, leave a review. That really helps everyone find out about Love to See It.
And of course, tell all your friends about our show. You know, you can write it into a beautiful handwritten card, give it to your friend, even let them keep it so that they know where to find us. If you want to get in touch, you can email us at claireandemmapod@gmail.com.
You can also find us on TikTok at Love to See It Pod and on Instagram at Claire and Emma Pod. And you can also check out our new YouTube channel. You can also find our newsletter Rich Text on Substack at claireandemma.substack.com. I'm also on Blue Sky at Emma Gray and on Instagram at Emma Lady Rose.
And I'm at Claire E. Fallon.
Special thanks to the team at Odyssey: Eric Donnelly, Aaron Constantino, Matt Casey, Kate Rose, Moira Curran, Melissa Wester, Carly Snyder, and Hillary Shoup.
We'll be back next week for episode 3.
Can you keep